Welcome to Sleepy History Stories. Before we begin, feel free to share in the comments where you are watching from, what time it is for you, and any gentle thoughts you may have tonight. Your words help create a calm and peaceful place for everyone who visits this quiet corner of history. Tonight we drift slowly back to the ancient lands of Mesopotamia, to the soft murmur of distant rivers and the faint glow of early human civilization. The air is warm, settled beneath a wide sky, and the quiet hum of life rises from small towns surrounded by tilled earth and winding canals. This is the world of the Sumerians, a people whose quiet innovations shaped the foundation of human progress. Within this ancient landscape, mud brick houses stand beneath the soft light of early morning, and workers move slowly across the fields, guided by the steady rhythm of daily tasks. Along narrow pathways, wheels turn for the very first time in human history, marking the beginning of a transformation that would ripple gently across the centuries. The atmosphere is soothing, warm, and unhurried, filled with the steady presence of river breezes and distant footsteps upon packed earth. As we settle deeper into this story, the ambience remains calm and steady, like the soft crackle of a distant fireplace or the quiet patter of warm evening rain. Here, within the heart of ancient Sumer, we explore how a simple idea, shaped from wood and inspired by the needs of daily life, became one of the most influential inventions in all of human history. Before the world knew the quiet turning of a wheel, life in ancient Sumer moved at a gentle and deliberate pace. The land stretched out in wide open plains, warmed by a steady sun that cast long, soft shadows over the earth. Two great rivers shaped this place, the Tigris and the Euphrates, their calm waters moving slowly across the landscape. Along their banks, reeds swayed in the breeze, and the soft murmur of flowing water created a soothing backdrop to the rhythm of everyday life. In the early mornings, as the sky settled into gentle shades of pale gold, the Sumerians began their day with quiet intention. Farmers stepped out of their mud brick homes, feeling the cool earth beneath their feet. They moved with steady calm toward fields marked by careful irrigation channels, bending close to the soil to tend to barley and wheat. These channels shimmered softly under the early light, carrying the lifeblood of the rivers out across the fields in narrow streams. The slow movement of water mirrored the slow movement of daily tasks, each moment unfolding with peaceful steadiness. Within the towns, life was similarly serene. Narrow streets wound between homes built from sun-dried bricks, their walls warm to the touch. The scent of earth and grain lingered in the air. Craftsmen settled into their places, kneading clay between their fingers, shaping it into bowls and jars with steady hands. Weavers sat near open doorways, guiding threads into gentle patterns. Scribes dipped reeds into ink, gliding symbols across damp clay tablets, while the soft sound of their strokes filled the room with a calming rhythm. Everything required time. Everything required patience. When harvests needed to be brought in, workers carried bundles upon their backs, taking slow, careful steps along the uneven paths. When goods had to be transported, they were placed upon sledges pulled across the ground, the wooden runners sliding along the earth with a soft and steady scrape. The work was laborious, but it was quiet work, done with slow breathing and an awareness of the land. Even the smallest tasks demanded presence. A single journey from one village to another took hours, sometimes most of a day, as people moved steadily beneath the wide sky. There was a sense of closeness in this slow world, a feeling that each moment was held gently, without hurry or rush. At night, the soft glow of oil lamps flickered along the walls of homes, casting warm pools of light across the floors. Families gathered beside these calm flames, speaking in low tones, enjoying the stillness after a day of steady work. Outside, the world settled into deep quiet. The distant sound of animals moving across the fields mixed with the soft whisper of river breezes. In this peaceful landscape, the Sumerians lived lives shaped by patience, by the land, and by the gentle pace of time itself. Before the wheel, life was a slow unfolding. Each task took time, each journey carried weight, and each day was marked by careful effort. This peaceful rhythm was all the world had ever known, and it was within this quiet, steady life that the first ideas would begin to form, ideas that would shape the future and alter the rhythm of human existence forever. In the warm and gentle landscape of ancient Sumer, new ideas rarely arrived suddenly. They emerged slowly, like soft ripples forming across a quiet river. Long before the wheel ever turned, the people of this land began to notice subtle patterns in the world around them. These early insights grew quietly over generations, shaped by patient observation, careful thought, and the steady rhythm of daily tasks. The first sparks of innovation appeared not in grand discoveries, but in simple moments of attention. Sumerian farmers watched as heavy loads dragged across the ground, the wooden runners of their sledges digging lines into the soil. They noticed how certain surfaces made the burden easier to pull, while others caused the sledges to catch and strain. Over time, these small observations settled gently into the minds of the workers, becoming seeds of thought that would eventually transform the world. During the warm afternoons, craftsmen gathered near shaded courtyards, listening to the faint hum of village life while shaping their clay. Their hands moved in slow, practiced motions, smoothing edges and forming rounded vessels that held water, grain, and oil. The turning shape of the potter's wheel, already used for shaping clay, offered the first quiet hint of what continuous rotation could become when applied to movement across the land. Yet the idea did not bloom immediately. It rested quietly, unnoticed, waiting for the right moment to be seen in a new way. In the bustling markets of the towns, workers guided animals carrying goods along narrow paths. Donkeys stepped carefully under the weight of sacks filled with grain or freshly fired pottery. Every movement reminded the Sumerians of the challenge of transporting supplies across even short distances. The effort was steady and unavoidable, part of the rhythm of life. But it was within this repetition that minds began to wander, imagining a gentler way to move burdens from one place to another. Some of the earliest inspirations came from simple logs found along the riverbanks. When a heavy load was pushed onto a smooth log, the weight shifted forward, allowing the bundle to roll a short distance before settling again. It was not yet a wheel, but it was the earliest whisper of what a wheel could be. Villagers took note of how the logs rolled naturally beneath weight. They watched how the rounded shape eased the burden. These observations remained quiet, resting in the background of daily life. Children played nearby, rolling clay balls along the ground, watching them spin gently across the dusty paths. Their laughter carried softly through the air as they discovered how far a rounded object could travel with just a small push. Their simple games mirrored the future, though no one realized it yet. In these early playful moments, the basic principle of rolling was shown again and again in the most natural way imaginable. Along the fields, the sound of water wheels turning to lift water along irrigation canals also began to influence thought. These early mechanisms rotated slowly under the weight of water and gravity, helping farmers direct water to their crops. Each rotation was a quiet demonstration of how circular motion could be used to do work. Farmers who tended these channels observed the steady turning, feeling the idea settle into their minds with the calm patience of someone who has seen a truth without yet naming it. Even the celestial world offered inspiration. The Sumerians observed the skies with deep respect, noticing how the moon followed a gentle and predictable cycle, moving across the heavens in quiet rotation. These celestial patterns gave shape to their earliest calendars, guiding their planting seasons. The idea of cycles, circles, and repeated motion became a familiar theme in their understanding of life. All of these observations existed separately at first, like soft notes drifting through the air. Slowly they began to align. Slowly, minds began to imagine ways these small truths could fit together. And slowly the Sumerians realized that instead of dragging or carrying burdens, they might shape wood into a form that rolled like a log, turned like a potter's wheel, and carried weight with ease. It was not a moment of sudden brilliance, but a long, gentle unfolding of thought over generations. No single person invented the wheel in one night. Instead, the Sumerians nurtured the idea through patient observation, careful experimentation, and a deep understanding of their land and tools. The wheel was a quiet gift born from the slow, steady rhythm of life in ancient Sumer, and as the idea began to take shape, the world prepared to change forever, though no one yet knew what this simple circle would bring. In the soft light of the Sumerian morning, the first true wheels began to take shape, their rounded forms carefully carved from solid wood. These early creations were not elaborate or polished, but they were remarkable in their simplicity, embodying centuries of quiet observation and patient understanding. Each wheel was a circle of possibility, turning slowly on its central axle, offering a gentle solution to the burdens of daily life. The first carts were simple platforms mounted on these wooden wheels, sturdy but unassuming. Farmers loaded them with bundles of barley, reeds, and small clay pots, moving steadily across the fields. The sound of wood scraping gently against packed earth was a new rhythm in the familiar quiet of the Sumerian plains. Unlike the sledges that had been dragged across the soil, these wheeled platforms required far less effort, their slow rotations easing the strain on human shoulders and backs. Villagers watched these early vehicles with a mixture of curiosity and quiet delight. Children ran alongside them, laughing softly as the wheels turned, noticing how the rounded shape allowed the load to glide forward without interruption. The carts moved with a gentle grace, almost like an extension of the earth itself, merging human effort with the natural rhythm of the land. In towns, these new wheels changed the pace of work in subtle ways. Craftsmen transported clay, woven mats, and baskets of grain more efficiently. Laborers no longer had to strain under heavy loads, and farmers could carry larger quantities of produce to the riverbanks for trade. The quiet efficiency brought by the wheel allowed the Sumerians to focus more attention on the careful tending of their crops, the shaping of their crafts, and the rhythms of their daily lives. The rivers themselves seemed to echo this new movement. Boats had always floated gently along the currents, But now carts allowed the people to connect the land with the water in more deliberate ways. Goods could be moved from river docks to distant homes, and the flow of trade began to expand slowly but surely. The wheel did not rush life. It harmonized with the natural tempo of human work, offering a subtle, steady enhancement rather than a jarring disruption. Even the social fabric of Sumer changed in these quiet ways. Markets grew more lively, yet remained calm and ordered, as traders could carry more goods with less effort. Villagers who once struggled to transport materials now had time to sit by the riverbanks, sharing low conversations, stories, and observations of the sky. In the early evening, the soft glow of lamps reflected on the slow-turning wheels of carts, moving through narrow streets, a peaceful sign that life had gently begun to expand. The wheel also inspired new ways of thinking. Craftsmen experimented with larger platforms, slightly different shapes, and stronger axles. They observed the load, the friction, and the subtle changes in weight distribution, learning quietly through repeated, patient trials. Each rotation of the wheel offered lessons about balance, endurance, and the harmonious interaction between human effort and mechanical advantage. Even children, playing along the riverbanks, learned the principles without formal instruction. They rolled small wooden discs, pushed miniature carts across the sand, and watched the objects turn smoothly, understanding instinctively the power of circular motion. In these soft, playful moments, the foundations of future ingenuity were laid not through haste or force, but through gentle observation and attentive repetition. As evening drifts over the mud-brick homes and flowing canals, the wheels rest quietly under the hands of their makers. Families gather around lamps, their conversations low and soothing, sharing stories of the day's work, of the loads carried with ease, and of the subtle marvel of a simple wooden circle that moves effortlessly across the earth. The Sumerians have learned, slowly but surely, that even the smallest innovation can bring calm, steady transformation to the rhythm of life. With each quiet turn of a wheel, the world begins to change, not through sudden upheaval, but through patient, persistent, and harmonious motion. The Sumerians continue their gentle work, unaware that this simple circle will ripple outward through history, shaping the lives of countless generations to come. With the wheel now a quiet presence in the fields and streets of Sumer, the rhythm of daily life began to shift ever so gently. The soft turning of wooden wheels across packed earth and narrow streets created a new tempo, one that blended harmoniously with the slow currents of rivers, the steady growth of crops, and the gentle passage of the sun across the sky. Life became more manageable, yet remained calm and deliberate, each task unfolding with patient attention. In the fields, farmers experienced a subtle but profound relief. Barley, wheat, and other crops could be moved from one area to another without the exhausting strain of carrying bundles on their backs. Carts with rolling wheels glided over the soft soil, leaving only faint impressions that would be smoothed over by wind or light rain. Workers took long, slow breaths, attuning themselves to the calm rhythm of transport, feeling the gentle cooperation between human effort and mechanical assistance. The wheel became an extension of the body, an almost organic companion in the slow work of cultivation. Trade also began to shift with a patient steadiness. Villages that were once isolated could now exchange goods over greater distances, though the movement was still slow and deliberate, carried by carts, guided by patient hands. Grain, woven mats, clay vessels, and even small livestock could be moved in a measured flow from one town to another. The rivers carried their soft whispers of water alongside the gentle scrape of wheels on earth, forming a quiet symphony of commerce. Markets grew larger, yet maintained a soothing rhythm, with traders speaking in calm voices, weighing goods, and arranging bundles with care. Even daily routines within homes and towns were subtly affected. Families could gather more comfortably around fires or oil lamps, sharing stories while children played safely nearby because the burdens of labor were eased by rolling carts. Craftsmen moved their supplies with less effort, allowing more time for focused work on pottery, weaving, and the careful shaping of clay and wood. The wheel did not rush life. It allowed life to flow more smoothly, giving space for reflection, observation, and slow enjoyment of the world around them. The wheel also inspired quiet experimentation and learning. Builders and craftsmen began to consider how its shape, size, and construction could be improved. The relationship between axle and wheel was explored with careful observation. Even small adjustments, a smoother surface, a stronger joint, a wider platform offered subtle advantages, teaching the Sumerians about balance, leverage, and the interplay of weight and motion. These lessons unfolded patiently, without hurry, reinforcing the calm and thoughtful nature of discovery in this early civilization. Along the riverbanks, Sumerians noticed another quiet benefit. The wheel could support the transport of water and heavier materials for irrigation. Wooden platforms and wheeled carts carried clay and reeds to strengthen canal banks, ensuring that the water flowed evenly and reached every field. The life-giving rivers became even more central to the slow and deliberate rhythm of Sumerian life, moving in harmony with the gentle rotations of wooden wheels that guided goods and supplies across the land. In the villages, evenings retained their serene character. The soft glow of lamps flickered across walls of sun-dried bricks, casting warm light on carts resting quietly beside doorways. Children's laughter mingled with the distant scrape of wheels from nearby neighbors returning from fields or markets. Families spoke in low, comforting tones, reflecting on the calm efficiency brought by this simple circle. Every turn of the wheel carried lessons of patience, careful thought, and harmony with the surrounding world. The wheel, small and unassuming, became more than a tool. It became a quiet companion in the slow unfolding of civilization. It allowed humans to move burdens gracefully, to tend the earth more gently, and to interact with one another and the environment in a steady, thoughtful manner. The transformation was not sudden, and it brought no chaos or rush, only a subtle, enduring improvement that reshaped daily life with calm purpose. As night descends over the canals, fields, and streets, the gentle turning of the wheel echoes softly in the memory of the day. The Sumerians rest with the understanding that even the simplest idea, observed patiently and nurtured carefully, can carry the weight of generations and gently shape the rhythm of human life. As the wheel quietly became a part of daily life in Sumer, its influence spread gradually, like the gentle current of a river flowing through the plains. Villages and towns, once separated by slow, weary journeys, now became more connected as carts carried goods, clay, and grain along the soft earth with ease. The rhythm of movement itself shifted subtly, allowing humans to experience the world at a pace that was steady, deliberate, and soothing, rather than hurried or exhausting. Travelers along narrow paths noticed the difference immediately. Bundles that had once required multiple men to carry could now be rolled across the plains with only a few hands, each step measured and calm. The soft scraping of wheels on packed earth became a familiar sound, blending with the gentle hum of river water and the whisper of reeds swaying in the breeze. Travelers paused occasionally to watch the motion of the wheels, noticing how smoothly round shapes could transform effort into ease, and felt a quiet sense of marvel at the ingenuity of their neighbors. Markets in larger towns began to reflect this calm efficiency. Goods arrived more regularly, and the rhythm of trade became predictable, measured, and organized. Clay vessels, woven fabrics, and baskets of grain rolled along wheels into quiet marketplaces, where vendors spoke in low tones, exchanging goods with thoughtfulness rather than haste. The wheel created space for reflection, conversation, and observation, as humans moved alongside the gentle rotation of their carts, learning patience and the steady art of coordination with both peers and environment. Even cultural life began to feel the influence of the wheel. Craftsmen experimented with new forms, inspired by the simplicity and perfection of the circle. Artists and builders observed the symmetry and balance, translating the quiet perfection of wheels into design and structure. Temples and public spaces began to reflect a harmony that mirrored the calm efficiency of rolling wheels, showing that even subtle mechanical improvements could influence aesthetic perception and collective understanding over time. Along the riverbanks, carts now carried irrigation materials and harvested crops with gentle consistency. Farmers, observing the smooth movement of wheels through mud and sand, began to coordinate their work with neighbors, slowly creating systems of trade and transport that spanned wider areas than ever before. They discovered that life became less laborious and more harmonious when effort was shared and enhanced by simple ingenuity. The wheel taught them patience, quiet planning, and the gentle power of observation, allowing them to live in closer connection with one another and with the rhythms of the land. Even journeys between towns became moments of calm observation and quiet reflection. Travelers noted how paths and small hills influenced the movement of carts, how soil texture and moisture subtly altered the ease of travel, and how timing journeys with the sun and the flowing rivers could make passage smoother and safer. Each trip became a meditation in movement, a slow interaction between humans, the environment, and the wheel itself, reinforcing the serene pace of life in these early communities. As the sun descended toward the horizon, casting long, soft shadows across fields, streets, and river banks, families returned to their mud brick homes. Children rested beside lamps, recalling the gentle rotations of small toy carts, while adults settled after tending fields or moving goods. The wheel, quiet and unassuming, had reshaped not just the labor of the day, but the very rhythm of living, bringing efficiency, calm, and measured harmony to the Sumerian world. The night settled softly over the land. The river whispered gently in the distance, and the faint traces of wheels pressed into earth and sand became quiet reminders of the subtle power of human ingenuity. Through patience, observation, and careful experimentation, the Sumerians had transformed a simple circle into a tool that would guide not only burdens, but the unfolding of civilization itself, moving slowly, deliberately, and always with gentle purpose. As the wheel quietly rolled into every corner of Sumerian life, Its presence touched more than just fields and marketplaces. It became a gentle thread woven through the fabric of society, influencing not only labor but also relationships, communication, and the flow of daily life. Each turn of a wheel carried subtle lessons in patience, balance, and harmony, reminding humans that small innovations could transform the world without disrupting its natural rhythm. In the towns, carts carrying goods allowed merchants to expand their trade with nearby villages. The soft scraping of wheels along earth and stone became a steady rhythm, accompanying the calm voices of traders as they exchanged clay jars, woven mats, and baskets of grain. Journeys that had once been exhausting and slow were now possible with relative ease, giving people more time for observation, reflection, and conversation. Life moved at a gentle, deliberate pace, guided by the rhythm of the wheel. Farmers, too, discovered that their days had changed in subtle, meaningful ways. Tasks that once demanded hours of lifting and dragging were now accomplished with careful steering of a simple cart. They could transport larger amounts of harvest without overexerting themselves, creating a more balanced, sustainable rhythm to work. The wheel brought not only efficiency, but also a sense of calm confidence, as humans observed their ability to manage heavier loads while maintaining control and patience. The influence of the wheel extended to communication and the movement of information. Messengers could travel with messages and small goods more steadily, moving from village to village without unnecessary strain. The gentle rotation of wheels allowed ideas, knowledge, and culture to spread slowly but deliberately, giving communities the space to absorb, reflect, and integrate new practices without disruption. Social bonds strengthened in this measured exchange as people learned to rely on both innovation and patience. Even children, observing the rolling carts or mimicking them in play, absorbed lessons in geometry, balance, and cause and effect. They learned how a round shape, turned carefully, could transform effort into motion. Their games mirrored the practical realities of adult life, and they internalized the quiet rhythm of progress, seeing the connection between curiosity, observation, and practical results. Beyond the villages, along the banks of the Tigris and Euphrates, the wheel helped humans interact more gently with the environment. Moving soil, clay, and irrigation materials became less laborious, allowing the land to be shaped carefully without overexertion or unnecessary strain. The rivers flowed steadily alongside the human activities, providing calm continuity, while the wheel guided humans in a slow dance of adaptation and harmony with nature. The spread of wheeled technology also inspired innovation in other areas. Craftsmen began experimenting with variations in axle design, wheel diameter, and load platforms. Builders observed the advantages of rounded movement and incorporated circular motifs and principles of balance into architecture and public spaces. Over time, the wheel became both a practical tool and a quiet symbol of ingenuity, patience, and thoughtful design deeply woven into the culture of Sumer. Evenings in Sumerian towns retained their soft, gentle charm. Families rested beside low fires or flickering oil lamps. Children played quietly, and carts stood ready for the next day's work. The soft creak of wood and the faint impressions in the earth reminded all who moved about the steady improvements brought by a simple idea, nurtured carefully over generations. The wheel, in its calm, deliberate turning, had changed not only what humans could do, but how they experienced time, labor, and the flow of life itself. As the sky darkened and stars appeared above the plains and rivers, the Sumerians could rest knowing that their gentle work, guided by observation, patience, and the quiet power of circular motion, would leave a lasting impression on the world. And the wheel, unassuming and steady, would continue its quiet influence across the land, shaping lives slowly, deliberately, and with enduring calm. As centuries passed, the simple, gentle rotation of the Sumerian wheel began to travel beyond the river valleys, moving quietly into neighboring regions and cultures. Caravans slowly traced worn paths across soft plains and rolling hills, carrying goods, ideas, and the quiet knowledge of circular motion. Each turn of the wheel carried not only physical loads, but also the seeds of innovation, spreading with a calm, deliberate persistence across the lands. Travelers observed the subtle advantages immediately. Loads that once required immense effort were now transported with ease, allowing trade and communication to extend farther than had ever been possible. The gentle rhythm of rolling wheels on packed earth created a soothing continuity, a soft background hum, to the daily life of communities receiving these new tools. People marveled quietly at the efficiency, yet adapted with care, integrating the wheel slowly into their own customs and practices. In fields, towns, and trade routes far from Sumer, farmers and merchants discovered the quiet transformation the wheel could bring. Crops and materials moved with steadier precision. Trade could expand without exhausting labor, and communities felt a subtle sense of cohesion. Paths carved over generations became familiar corridors of calm movement, and the turning wheels became part of the daily cadence, a gentle pulse linking human effort to progress. Artisans in these neighboring lands, inspired by the wheel's efficiency, began experimenting in their own workshops. Circular motifs appeared in pottery, in the shaping of vessels, and in simple architectural elements, reflecting the harmony and balance inherent in the turning circle. Craftsmen studied the mechanics of axle and hub, subtly improving designs, learning that careful observation and patient refinement could lead to quiet, enduring improvements. The wheel also quietly influenced social interactions. As the transport of goods became easier, communities could exchange more than just materials. They shared ideas, stories, and knowledge. Festivals and markets became spaces of measured, gentle interaction, where the rhythm of life followed the predictable and comforting pulse of moving carts. Patience and observation, already central to life in Sumer, became guiding principles for neighboring societies learning to live with this quiet innovation. Even children playing along village paths and riverbanks were drawn to the gentle magic of rolling objects. They watched small carts move under careful hands, rolling smoothly over soft earth, learning principles of balance, motion, and cause and effect without formal teaching. The presence of the wheel quietly shaped the way future generations understood their world. Slow observation, careful experimentation, and gentle, persistent effort could create lasting change. Along distant rivers and plains, the wheel began to integrate into systems of irrigation, farming, and construction, carrying materials in a rhythm that harmonized with the natural flow of water and the slow growth of crops. Communities learned to plan their work around the movement of carts, discovering that life could be eased yet remain unhurried when humans and innovation moved together in careful balance. At night, under soft, twinkling stars, travelers rested beside carts and rivers, reflecting on the quiet power of the wheel that had carried them over miles of terrain. The turning circle had traveled far from its origin, yet retained its gentle essence, a simple, patient tool, shaping work, culture, and thought without ever forcing haste. And as the wheel settled under the hands of distant peoples, it continued to inspire calm ingenuity, teaching that progress need not be loud, sudden, or disruptive. The wheel's journey beyond Sumer reminded humanity of a simple truth, that even the smallest, most unassuming ideas, when nurtured with care, could ripple outward across generations and lands, shaping civilization one quiet rotation at a time. As the wheel settled into the daily lives of peoples far beyond Sumer, its influence became both subtle and profound, a quiet force shaping the steady rhythm of human civilization. Across plains, valleys, and riverbanks, the gentle rotation of wheels transformed work, travel, trade, and thought itself, without ever disturbing the natural pace of life. The wheel was not merely a tool. It became a symbol of patient observation, careful experimentation, and slow, deliberate progress. In towns and villages across distant lands, carts carried goods and materials with a grace previously unknown. Farmers transported harvests over longer distances, traders expanded their networks, and families found their days softened by the reduced physical strain. The wheel allowed life to flow with calm efficiency, turning labor into motion and burden into gentle guidance. The quiet rhythm of moving wheels became a familiar hum, echoing alongside rivers, roads, and paths worn smooth by centuries of steady passage. The wheel's influence extended into thought and culture. Craftsmen adapted its circular form into pottery, weaving, and architecture, appreciating the balance, symmetry, and harmony inherent in its shape. Scholars and observers began to understand principles of motion, weight, and leverage, laying the groundwork for further innovations. Knowledge moved with the same gentle patience as the wheel itself, carried across lands, through generations, and into the minds of those who took the time to watch, reflect, and learn. Even daily life retained its calm and measured character. Children, rolling simple toys along paths and riverbanks, absorbed lessons in balance and motion as naturally as they breathed. Adults, observing these small experiments, saw reflections of their own work and discoveries in the play of youth. The wheel, though simple, quietly nurtured understanding, shaping minds as gently as it shaped the land. Over centuries, the wheel traveled further and evolved. It became part of carriages, plows, and larger vehicles, gradually increasing the range of human movement and commerce. Yet despite these advances, its essence remained unchanged, patient, reliable, and harmonized with the natural rhythm of life. It reminded humans that progress need not be abrupt or forceful, but could unfold gently through observation, care, and repetition. At night, when lamps flickered in quiet homes, and the wind whispered through reeds along the rivers, the wheel rested as a silent companion of civilization. Its gentle rotations had eased burdens, connected communities, and fostered understanding, leaving behind a legacy of calm, thoughtful progress. Even now, the wheel's quiet influence persists, unseen yet present, guiding lives and reminding humanity of the subtle power of patient ingenuity. As we close this story, we reflect on the remarkable simplicity and enduring impact of a single idea. From the mud-brick villages of Sumer to distant lands across centuries, the wheel has quietly shaped the rhythm of human existence. It teaches us that even the smallest circle, turning gently under careful hands, can change the course of history and create a world where life flows more smoothly, more thoughtfully, and with lasting calm. Good night.